The 15-year-old daughter of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner came out as trans, and maybe it's just me, but I don't think it's a coincidence that an abnormally high number of celebrity children join the pronoun mafia. The show starts now. So a lot of us are struggling to keep up with everyday bills. Everything is still really expensive. Credit card interest rates are insane, and most of us are carrying a balance from month to month. If you own a home, I want you to call my friends at American Financing. Interest rates have dropped into the fives, the lowest they've been in a long time. They're saving their customers an average of $854 a month by tapping into their home's equity and wiping out high-interest credit card debt. $854 a month is like a $10,000 raise. American Financing never charges any upfront fees, and that's why they have over 7,200 Google reviews and a 4.7-star rating. They've helped thousands of customers save real money and put themselves into a better financial position. And if you call today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. Call today to see what they can do for you. 866-890-8585. That's 866-890-8585. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net. So the 15-year-old daughter of celebrity parents Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner debuted a new look, name and gender identity, while speaking at a memorial service for Garner's father over the weekend. Born as Serafina Rose, but now using they/them pronouns and going by the name Finn. Look, it's really none of our business what Finn chooses to do. That's for the Affleck-Garner family to deal with. But I have to point out the pattern with celebrity children and the gender madness trend, because it seems to be that there's an abnormally high number of children born into fame and celebrity families that have gone down this trans path. Now, ironically, Ben Affleck's current wife, Jennifer Lopez, also has a non-binary identifying 14-year-old child. Add them to the long list of celebrity parents with trans or non-binary children that includes Cher, Dwayne Wade, Gabrielle Union, Jamie Lee Curtis, Cynthia Nixon, Annette Bening, Sigourney Weaver, and many, many, many others. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but maybe it's not. I'd also acknowledge that it takes a certain level of privilege to focus on pronouns and non-binary classifications, because most average folks don't have the time, energy, or the means to prioritize gender identity, so I'm sure that's part of it. Or could it be these celebrity parents who are so insulated in their elite bubbles and often their own narcissistic attention-seeking that they thrust this on their kids? Because it seems like a social contagion in a way. Or could this all just be a symptom of popular culture nowadays? Because the quickest way to get attention and instant gratification seems to be to come out as queer. I can't tell you for certain, but there's something more to this, given nearly 30% of Gen Z adults identify as LGBTQ. This is something that isn't going away and something that needs to be talked about, especially when these young people are going to drastic and life-changing measures such as puberty blockers and or surgeries. Joining me now to weigh in on this and so much more is radio talk show host, fellow Tomi Sotomayor. Tomi, it's great to see you. I don't think I've seen you since maybe 2014, but it's great to be reunited.
It is, and I am glad to be here again. And listening to your subject, I think we're ready to get into something good.
Well, let's get into that because, this is a touchy subject for a lot of people. And I'm also one of those people that's like, you know what, if you want to be non-binary, trans, unicorn, I don't really care. Just, I don't want to pay for it. And I don't think it should involve children. But in this instance, when it comes to these celebrities, it does involve their children. They've got, 14, 15-year-old kids, sometimes younger, coming out non-binary. We know that Dwayne Wade's son with the nails and the outfits. I just feel like it's not a coincidence. I feel like there's either something in the water or there's something more to this. Do you think that the celebrity Hollywood aspect has something to do with the abnormally high numbers here?
Oh, not only do you have, you're into something, but I'm going to go a little bit farther and play a little tinfoil hat. I think there's something in it for the Hollywood elite. I think that a lot of them are sacrificing their children for the fame that they receive. You see people like Dwayne Wade. Once his child comes out as a girl now, and we must call her a girl, him a girl. His daughter now gets to meet the president of the United States to discuss what at 12 years old? Your sexual preference or your thought of what you could be other than what you were born. And then we're pushing the agenda of these children have 99,000 different genders. And who do they go to? They go to the pharmacist. And who makes a whole lot of money in the United States? pharmacists and those doctors, those pseudoscience guys. And I believe that a lot of these actors, because remember what happened with a young lady by the name of Demi Moore? Her own mother sold her for $500. And that was years ago. So imagine what people are doing for $5 million or more. And a lot of these celebrities are being used to push the agenda. The agenda, we all know what it is, the LGBTQ.
Yeah, and I feel like some of these folks too, specifically when we talk about Dwayne Wade, I mean, that was really high profile because it was an athlete, it was a black athlete, and it felt like this was kind of an outreach to the black community to accept the trans narrative or at least build a bridge there. And I think Dwayne Wade and family really took that on as one of the kind of first high profile cases of this, where the child comes out as this and it was the back and forth and it was we're going to be supportive. And it feels like this is an attempt to get this to catch on in communities where maybe it hasn't fully caught on yet.
Hey, I've always said that right there. I said the blacks, we're the canaries in the coal mine. They try things out on us before they try it out on the community. There used to be, you're not as old as I am a fossil. And there used to be a show or a movie by the name of Revenge of the Nerds. And Revenge of the Nerds were all about these smart guys that were outcasts. But when it came to the black nerd was gay. His name was Lamar. They didn't say it explicitly, but you knew he was. And then when you watch a lot of these shows designing women, they had a black guy on there, black guy was gay. It got to a point where today I figured that all men are gay. That's why black men anyway. When you see Billy Porter walk out there in this weird dress with a beard on, it seems like they've allowed black men to be the faces of two things in the United States: homosexuality and being away from their families, gangsters and gang street figures, but not anything positive. As a matter of fact, when you look at it, and I'm going to go a little deeper here, when you look at it and you see the women in the black community that are supposedly gay and only date other women, well, how do they act? They act like the gangster men. You don't see them with suits on. They don't act like engineers, doctors, or lawyers. And when you see the black guys who are supposedly gay guys and trans, they act like there's no other way to say it. They act like the Keishas. They act like the fringe group of what we're supposed to look like. So you're 100% right. They're using us blacks to be able to push an agenda to normalize it, because who's the group of people you can't really criticize? Us. You're racist if you do it.
Yeah, and there seems to be something else to this. When there was all the BLM craze of 2020, I remember, because I was in LA at the time, that there was a big dust up during Pride Month, because it wasn't enough just to have Pride Month. It had to be Pride Month with the trans progressive flag having to add in all the different colors. And it's not just enough to be gay. You are on some kind of a hierarchy. If you were also black and gay, or if you were black and trans, then you really have one up on everybody else. And it seems to be that the LGBT rainbow mafia, as I call them, they've really tried to, I don't know, in some part hijack the black rights movement or the BLM movement, and they're trying to bring those things into one thing. And I don't know if it necessarily meshes well. They're doing the same thing with the Queers for Palestine. I know that doesn't mesh well, but it seems like all these social justice movements that are actually at odds with each other logically, they're trying to mesh them all into one thing, maybe into communism. I'm not sure, but what do you think the end goal is?
Well, see, that's your problem right there. You said logically. Well, they know that the people who are following the initial parts of these are not thinking logically. And if you can get that group to not be thinking logically, then you can push more illogical things on them. These people you call them a mafia. I would look at them as maybe like their own little military. And in the military, the higher you go up in ranking, you start to get stripes. And when you see, well, you're gay, you're black, and when you keep adding things on it, they get more stripes and they get higher up in that military. And that's what it is. And the end goal of it is to destroy families, because when you destroy families, what do you end up doing? You destroy society. When families don't depend upon each other, who's left for them to depend upon? The government. Who pushes the government? The left.
Right. A lot of white liberals too. But there seems to be maybe somewhat of an awakening, and I'm going to say an awakening light, from some folks that have been very loud in the sports community, in the popular culture community. Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith, they were recently together, and they're kind of sounding off, I guess, on maybe some elements of DEI, immigration. Maybe it's a soft awakening. I want to take a listen and get your thoughts.
first of all, the border is a joke. The border is a joke.
Yeah.
But they had these migrants, they call them, had just bust up in New York. They got them on camera kicking and beating like cops. They beat up these
two cops, beating up two cops, beating up two police officers
but they were,
in the subway station.
They were out of jail in 24 hours, and the next day.
Actually, it was the same day, Charles.
But 2 days later, they call them robbing Macy's.
But it's woke culture. But with woke culture and everything else that's been going on, you've got folks on the left that have endorsed a more lenient legal system, and obviously folks on the right going crazy about it and calling for law and order.
We need law and order, Stephen A. If we're gonna,
I agree. I'm with you,
dude. We need law and order. I want to be able.
How about the 53 million in prepaid credit cards for migrants?
That's ridiculous. I mean, come on, man. And
Black folks been in the streets, Latinos been in the streets, homeless. Minorities have been in the streets, homeless, starving for years. We ain't never got anything like that.
Could law and order and illegal immigration be the one thing that might get some of that very loyal Black Democrat voting bloc to maybe shift over to the other side? Or is that, maybe a pipe dream that's not going to happen anytime soon?
Well, it goes back to what we were saying before when you asked me what was the end goal. I said, destroy the family. When you destroy the family, you take the man out of the house, because that's what happens when you kind of have the man in the house. You know what you were hearing right there? We call that barbershop talk. And you get enough guys around each other, they will forget what they're supposed to say, and they'll start saying what they really feel and what they really think. There are no men out here that want lawlessness, especially men who have wives and children. At that point, they really do want law and order. And these men, once they've started to achieve the American dream, where they own property and they own stock and they have things that they own, then they start to want things a little bit different. And again, I'm an old guy. There was a movie by the name of Trading Places, and Eddie Murphy was in there. And as long as he was in the streets, had no one to depend on him, nor did he depend on anyone other than his cunning ability. He did not look at America the same after he turned around and got him a job, became a businessman, and then all the people he used to hang with, he realized they were leeches and he got rid of them. You listen to people like Stephen A. Smith, they understand that they have Black women that they constantly have to kiss up to in order to stay relevant a lot of times. That's the sacred cow. But when you get them by themselves in the barbershop talk, they start to talk like how they really feel. I believe that podcasting has really helped Black men be able to speak out, because in general, you remember what happened with Donald Trump in the last election. Black women turned on any Black man that voted for Donald Trump. The liberal left called out Black males as basically sellouts for not voting Democrat. And you have a sitting president who said while he was running, what did he say? Well, Charlemagne, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black.
So you got to explain this to me. Do Black women like Kamala Harris? Because I know that was a big thing, but I just can't fathom that they do. I mean, is she really resonating? And then is she resonating at all with Black men?
None with Black men at all. We see what she is. There's nothing there. But Black women are resonating this way. Black women like to be involved. So if you tell her she's Black, but she's dating a Black guy that you like, you're going to say that guy, there's a word in our community called color struck. So you're not supposed to like the Black girl with any European features. But if that Black girl with European features gets to be Miss America, then Black women will cheer along with her. Let me give you two stark examples, which a lot of people from your end of the spectrum may not understand. There was a show called, Scandal. Scandal was about a Black woman who was in love with a white man who was the president of the United States, who had a white wife, and he was cheating on his white wife with that Black woman. It was the #1 watched show amongst Black women for 6 years in a row. If you had taken that exact same premise and switched it a little bit and said the president was Black, his wife was Black, and the woman he was cheating on her with was white, it would have gotten probably not even past the pilot, because Black women would have immediately said that that's a problem. You look at the second example, Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle does not look Black at all, but as long as she says she's Black and she steals one of those white men, then every Black woman in the United States sat there and thanked Prince Harry and said, thank you for making a Black woman a queen. Now that Black woman, if I dated her and I was doing my podcast with her, you know what they would say? I was a sellout and I was a colorist because I only like her because she looks white. That is what happens when you're dealing with black women. That's why they're forcing people who are mixed. You ever notice when mixed people say, like Tiger Woods, well, I'm not black. I'm everything I'm mixed with. Who comes out and tries to force them to say they're black? Black females.
A very interesting dynamic. Kamala Harris should be very thankful, though, because I think that that's why she got where she is. I don't think she's ever going to be president, but there's still some kind of a loyalty to her. But I think you're right about black men. I think they look at Kamala Harris as a joke, and I don't think they're impressed in the least about that. I want to talk about somebody else that I think is a secret conservative, maybe not so much secret. I think 50 Cent is a conservative, and I'll tell you why. Because I follow him, and I followed him for a long time. Not only does he post about bail reform, not only does he post a lot about Diddy, which I want to ask you about, but he posts about Donald Trump. The other day he posted like a funny meme about Donald Trump looking up and seeing an F Joe Biden in the eclipse. I mean, I think 50 Cent is a conservative, but I am one that likes to jump into the comments. And some of his fans and followers really hate that I'm in the comments pointing out that he's a conservative, but I think that he is. And I'm wondering if you think that there is going to be a time where there are going to be other people as prominent as 50 Cent that come out and say, you know what, I'm a Trump supporter. Will we ever see that day?
Listen, 50 Cent and I have had our little back and forth, our beefs, and it all revolved around one thing, black women. And then he would come into my DMs and tell me, I see what you're saying, but you probably shouldn't say it out in public. So that lets me know that he understands where I'm coming from. I'm like the small rudder on a big ship. I started it out saying a lot of things that a lot of people said you can't say, but the men already heard us say it in the barbershop, but they knew you couldn't say it there. So when you hear a lot of men like 50 Cent, you hear a lot of men like the Charles Barkley, you hear a lot of men like even Stephen A. Their persona, because publicly you have to do it, is we're down, the black woman is queen, and the white man is always oppressing us, even though I'm in a yacht. Second off, you turn around and you look at these guys, though, they have a yacht and they want their yacht to be safe. Their kids go to private school. They don't go to the same schools as the sexy reds go to high on marijuana when she's going to talk to. They don't go to that school. And there's a reason why. There's this bit of a dichotomy in black men. I would look at them as, and I guess pop culture is my thing, they would be like Two-Face from Batman. Half of us are saying one thing and half is saying the other. And there are a lot of times in a battle with each other. 50 Cent is a prime example. The gangster is in him, but boy, he want to stay behind that gated community. He does not want to go back to Harlem. And that's common sense. That happens when you get older. I don't want to wear tight shirts anymore because I got a belly. I used to have a six-pack. Now I got a keg. I just dress differently. It's what happens. 50 Cent is representative of a lot of men that once they make it, they've changed their mind. Conservatism is natural for a man. It just is. When you're young, what's the old saying? When you're young and you're a conservative, you're a coward. But when you're old and you're a liberal, you're a fool.
Yep.
It's true.
No, it seems to be exactly what you're saying. And, you know, I would think that conservatism and capitalism works for everybody. I would think it also works for black women. So it's confusing to me why they're so married to a Democrat Party that's doing nothing for them. I mean, whatsoever.
Something for them.
What's
I
that?
hate to say it, but it is doing something for them. Victimhood. Can you imagine waking up every day? I've known you for years and you are a very hard worker, but you understand to get where you're getting, it takes hard work. A lot of people don't have that. To be a victim, all you have to do is lay back and grab a Mai Tai and accept whatever you get from it. Basically, you're walking around with a jar or a cup and you're expecting the world to feel sorry about the situation you're in, even when you're not in that situation. I had a black woman show me today about how black women are so educated and they're educated. And I had this wedding and all the women in the party were talking about the degrees that they have. Interesting during the woman's wedding, but nonetheless, I responded. I said, great, since you're all doing so well, maybe you'll stop complaining about white supremacy and white oppression, because it obviously hasn't hit you. Well, have you noticed they're the ones who are saying with the forgive student loans. Who we want to forgive our student loans? Yes, Joe Biden said he'll forgive it. You know who he was talking to? He wasn't talking to black men. What black man walked around and said, yes, forgive the student loans? Most of those black men didn't have them.
Yeah.
They're going towards the group who says that they're a victim, and that group that says they're a victim get a bunch of free things. That's it.
Well, the free thing seems to be working for a lot of Democrat voters, regardless of race or gender or anything else. I want to play another clip for you. This is a brilliant one. We've been hearing about reparations a lot, but we've got a representative out of Texas, Jasmine Crockett, no relation to Davy Crockett, who doesn't believe that Black Americans should have to pay taxes. Let's take a listen.
One of the things that they propose is Black folk not have to pay taxes for a certain amount of time, because then again, that puts money back in your pocket. But at the same time, it may not be as objectionable to some people about actually giving out dollars. But obviously then you start dealing with the different tax brackets and things like that. And that's one of the reasons that, we argue the reparations make sense, because so many Black folk, not only do you owe for the labor that was stolen and killed and all the other things, right? But the fact is, we end up being so far behind.
She's a sitting U.S. Congresswoman, but apparently she's really behind. And so for a period of time, certain races should not have to pay taxes. I don't know why some people with D's behind their names really want to go back to a time of inequality and segregation, but it seems to be that is one of the leading messages from the left. What are your thoughts on that and her rationale?
Okay, you might not like this. They stole that from me. I said, hey, one of the things that you should do, I said years ago, I said the only thing that I think would make sense was if you just stop blacks from for a certain amount of time, don't let them pay taxes. If white people ever wanted to pay reparations, that's the only form I would pay it. And you know why I said that I would pay it that way is because it still incentivizes the individual to work. They have to have a job. They have to be working in order for them to even care about taxes. If you give anyone something free, it's like, in the first 5 years, the lotto winners typically go broke after they win. If you didn't teach financial literacy, it doesn't matter how much money you give them, they're going to throw it away. So that's why I said that I made it as a kind of a compromise if it were to ever happen, because here's my thoughts. I don't believe America owes Black people reparations, but if they hand out that check, I'm putting my hand out and I'm going to receive it. I will not turn down free money. But these women are saying this, and all they're talking about is white oppression and white this and white that. And you know how I feel until you take that weave off, lady. I don't believe what you're saying. White supremacy can't be that bad when you keep putting on white supremacy on your head. These people have found that the average Democrat, the average Black voter, wants to believe that Santa Claus exists, wants to believe that when the bunny hops by, it's going to be chocolate eggs and it's going to have paint on the outside and it's going to be glittery and gold. Everything that the Democrats tell them is someone's going to make their life better. What conservatives do, and which is something that families do and men do, which is why so many men are doing it, because it says you have your own agency over your own life. Please come over to the conservative side where you don't have to wait on Joe Biden to drop off a couple pennies, when you can go and get as much as you want, as much as your mind can imagine. Because that's what the American dream is supposed to be. That's what Martin Luther King talked about. And that's what Malcolm X came to the realization of. I just want agency over myself and my family. And conservatives, you can say they don't like blacks or they're racist, but let me tell you something. They give you autonomy. Democrats, do you have autonomy? That used to be the group of free speech. If you say one thing, you can be a Democrat your whole life. Say one thing that goes against what they're saying. What happens? They oust you. They will take your Twitter down. They will take your social media down simply because you did not agree with them once in your whole life. And we've seen several examples of celebrities who have toed the party line and said one thing that they didn't agree to. Why would you want to be beholden to that party that can't even live up to their own credos and mottos?
Yeah, you can have free things or you can have freedom, but you can't really have both, because once you are beholden to the government, and I hate to tell Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett this, but all those reparations are going to illegal immigrants every single day. So good luck. Don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Only so much money to go around. And unfortunately, the 10 million that Joe has let in, well, they are the first ones that are getting all of that. So good luck with that. But here we go. I always appreciate you coming in and telling the truth, whether it's controversial or not, it needs to be said, and I always appreciate it. And please come back soon. I enjoyed watching you on Waters Primetime a couple weeks ago, and I'm so happy that you came to join me. So I hope to talk to you soon. From one Tommy to another, let's do this again.
I can't wait to do it again. And you need to put that on the shirt. Free things, freedom. Which do you want?
All right.
Can't have them.
I love it. Well, maybe 50 Cent can put it up for us. You have that conversation. Let him know I'm a big fan. I'll talk to you soon, Tomi.
Will do. See ya.
All right, folks, another day, another round of student loan handouts. Brandon is buying votes again, and it's time for final thoughts.
Today, I'm proud to announce 5 major actions to continue to relieve student debt for more than 30 million Americans since I started my administration. And starting this fall, we plan to deliver up to $20,000 in interest relief to over 20 million borrowers and full forgiveness for millions more. I will never stop to deliver student debt relief on hardworking Americans, and it's only in the interest of America that we do it. And again, it's for the good of our economy that's growing stronger and stronger, and it is. By freeing millions of Americans from this crushing debt of student debt, it means they can finally get on with their lives.
And there it is, folks. Sugar Papa Brandon rolls out yet another plan to forgive student loan debt. And by forgive, of course, I mean pass it on to you and I, the American taxpayer. The Supreme Court already ruled on this crap and told Joe he didn't have the authority to do it, but just like all the other laws he chooses to ignore, Joe doesn't give a crap because Joe is underwater with young voters and he's got to buy them somehow. Apparently his army of TikTokers isn't enough, and talking about all the things he has single-handedly effed up, like the economy and the border, well, that sure as heck ain't enough. So back to the old standby, free things. And as someone who paid off every cent of my own student loans, this issue in particular really chaps my behind. First of all, it is not my duty or your duty to cover the debt for students and graduate students who either spent their college years screwing around or spent their college years attaining a worthless gender studies degree. If you think paying back your own loans is unfair, well, that's too bad. You want fair? Go to the carnival. This is the real world, or at least it should be. And you know what else really irks me? That these student loan handouts actually do nothing to address the core issue here, the unaffordability of college tuition. These colleges and universities that rope students into these pricey degrees have zero incentive to be cost competitive or deliver students with earning potential. They also employ these tenured professors with huge salaries that usually pawn off the actual teaching to grad assistants, and damn near all of them spend more time on woke indoctrination than teaching anyway. And here's another thing that just ticks me right off. Joe has zero problem circumventing Congress and the Supreme Court to issue his loan forgiveness bull, but he claims he can't secure the border without Congress. It's a racket and it's a grift, and now it's a racket and a grift that the rest of us are stuck paying for. I'm mad as hell, and you probably should be too. Those are my final thoughts from Nashville. God bless and take care.